Namaskar. Welcome to P Guru's Prime Time. I'm your host Sri Iyer, and today with me I have JVC Sreeram. Sreeram has been on our channel before, and we talk about various things. Today is a topic that is near and dear to many hearts because Sreeram is going to share with us the initial, polling results from the 5 states that are going to state assembly elections in early 2022. We're not talking about those who are going in the later part of 2022. Those will come later. Right now, since only 5 minutes are there, 5 months are there between now and then, we're going to start looking at the 5 states that are going to pose, excuse me, in early 2022. Without further ado, let's welcome JVC Sreeram. Sreeram, namaskar and welcome to P Guru's channel.
Namaskar, sir. It's always a pleasure to be in P Guru's channel with you. It's my pleasure.
Sorry about that. I'm having a dry cough. Sreeram, we have with us some findings from some polls done by some agencies. And I have with me some preliminary numbers. There are 5 states. The states are Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Uttarakhand, Goa, and Manipur. And in these states, it looks like there is a fair amount of, how should I say this, momentum that is building with one party. To get all this stuff and more, I'd like you to set the stage, since many of us are interested first in knowing about Uttar Pradesh. Maybe first you can say in Uttar Pradesh, who all have done the surveys and what do those initial surveys hint at? And then we'll come with the more substantive numbers and all that stuff at the end of this hangout and go through all the other states. Take it away.
So let me just share what is that we have on our hands. So Janki Baat, with which the founder, Mr. Pradeep Bhandari, and myself are good friends. They have done an exhaustive ground level survey, and we have very good indicators as far as Janki Baat survey is concerned. But Janki Baat has not gone into the numbers. Janki Baat gives you the overall mood of the voter and what are the issues. And with Uttar Pradesh being a extremely caste conscious and a socially driven state, we have the numbers as far as which community is moving where predominantly. And then the C voter has actually done, I think they've done a telephonic survey. We do not have exact details of it, but they have a fair amount of numbers in their survey, which does indicate the mood of where the elections are heading towards if they are held today. So we also need to understand that C voter has been accurate in many predictions, but it also gone wrong sometimes. Every pollster, it basically happens like that. So C voter actually got Punjab wrong last time. So whatever numbers we are going to share as far as Punjab is concerned, we need to take it with caveat. But we have a very good mood and what are the issues from Janki Baat survey. So as far as Uttar Pradesh is concerned, if the elections are held today, the number one neta in Uttar Pradesh is Yogi Adityanath. There is absolutely no two ways about it. At a very broad level, let me just take it and then we can go in detail. But there is a fierce challenge coming from Mr. Akhilesh Yadav. He is mounting a challenge which could be bigger than the 2017 assembly election and the 2019 parliament elections. And we are seeing a rejuvenated Akhilesh Yadav in the campaign, which is evident from all the angles, whatever we have studied till now. Mayawati's support base is shrinking. There is a migration of voters from the core voters of Mayawati towards the BJP. They are gravitating towards the BJP. Congress is not even in the radar. In fact, I wouldn't even say it is not in the, I would not even say they're not in the race. They are becoming insignificant as far as Uttar Pradesh is concerned. Now, for the historical blunders they had committed over a period of time, it is becoming clear that Congress is becoming irrelevant as far as Uttar Pradesh is concerned. And the next big thing I would like to say is 42% of the Uttar Pradesh population would decide on which way they are going to vote depending upon the candidate, and 38% would go with the party. This is the minute detail we have got with Jan Ki Baat survey. Another important point which we are seeing is, we are seeing three predominant communities being gravitating towards SP and Akhilesh Singh, which are the Yadav, the Muslim, and also a section of Jats. But at the same time, we are seeing counter polarization and counter consolidation in favor of BJP as far as upper caste is concerned, which includes Brahmins, which I want to mention here, which includes Brahmins, which includes Thakurs, which includes OBCs of various facts, and also includes the scheduled caste, the Dalits, and also tribes. The tribes are not in a big number. And non-Jatav Dalit vote is going towards the Bharatiya Janata Party. Now, this is what is done. I'm not going into numbers now. I'm just giving you an overall picture as far as Uttar Pradesh is concerned. And the candidates are going to play a very important role, because, again, I reiterate, 42% is going to be decided based on the candidate and 38% is going to be decided on the party. Personally, I went to Uttar Pradesh, did an exhaustive, tour pre-COVID. This was in January 2020. And during my visit, what I found out was the decision, the loyalty towards Mr. Narendra Modi is extremely high. He is the undisputed number one king of Uttar Pradesh. Number two, the satisfaction levels of Yogi Adityanath is very high. Number three is only the party. So that is where the things stand.
Thank you so much for setting the stage for us, Sreeram. One thing that kind of stands out from your initial observations is the Bahujan Samaj Party losing ground. And if we remember, I mean, viewers, you have to remember that the BSP, one of the pillars of BSP was actually the Brahmins. And looks like there is, that part has, parted ways. Sorry to use the pun. Why do you think BSP has lost so much ground?
See, BSP allying with the Samajwadi Party in 2019 election was a very unnatural and unholy alliance. Mayawati also knew it. She's a very smart and a shrewd politician. She knew, but at that point of time, she had to bite the bullet after the 2017 debacle she faced. Now, I would like to pick up the words from Mr. Praveen Patel, who was one person who keeps talking about USHV, United Spectrum of Hindu Votes. We saw that in 2017. We saw to it in a great extent in 2019, because otherwise BJP would not have got 49 point change percentage. And adding to the ally Apna Dal, they shot up to 51%. If a party can pick up 51% vote share in any state in India, I can tell you it is something unbelievable. So what happened is, when they found that the United Spectrum of Hindu votes are moving towards BJP, and traditionally it is the Dalit community who had borne the brunt of the Yadav, whatever you call. When Yadavs are in power, when Mulayam Singh Yadav or Akhilesh Yadav is in power, you know how the missionary works. And the people who are at the receiving end are the Dalits. And that has been the historic thing. And they are the ones who are the whipping boys. As a result of which, this section has moved away from Mayawati, basically because they know pretty well that she is not going to win this race. Might as well vote against the Yadav Muslim MY combination. And that is what has happened to Ms. Mayawati.
Wonderful. And so let's take a quick look. So let's park the UP for now. We have given you an initial trend, initial hint as to where things are. And much water will flow down the river Ganga between now and election. So things can change. However, one of the things that perhaps will weigh in the voters' minds is what is happening in Afghanistan. And viewers, if you have not seen it, I urge you to watch the hangout I had with Major General G.D. Bakshi yesterday, where he pinpointed the names of the Pakistani generals, lieutenant generals, and so on and so forth, who were personally directing operations in what I can only call as, genocide of people in the Panjshir Valley. Brutal. And the response to that also was equally brutal. A lot of Pakistani soldiers have been also hurt. So, but this part has been completely suppressed by the mainstream media. So that's why I'm urging you to watch it. And so back to the point. How much of a factor do you think the external events will have in the voters' mind when they go to polls across all the states? Punjab is also a border state. So Manipur is also a border state. Goa, I'm not saying it's a border state, but it's on the ocean. Your thoughts on the external influence?
I feel Uttar Pradesh will have an extent, but not in a great way. It would probably push into consolidation a little bit. Uttarakhand may have certainly an impact because you will have a lot of defense people, retired defense people constitute a major population of Uttarakhand, if I were to believe the demography of that state. Punjab, it should, but would it is the big question mark. Because it looks like the Punjabi people, I will come to Punjab because I have a lot of things to share as far as Punjab is concerned.
Yes.
You typically think that a Punjab would definitely get affected by these kind of development, but we are not seeing that. Manipur, I feel, I don't think much of this is going to have an impact. And BJP is in a comfortable position as far as Manipur is concerned. And I will also quickly tell you what is the reason behind it. Goa, there is not going to be much impact as far as Taliban is concerned. Uttar Pradesh, there could be, when I say there could be, if there is any adventurism of Taliban in Kashmir, it would certainly have an impact. But otherwise also BJP is comfortably placed. So I don't think it's going to play out a major issue as of now. But let us see, as you said, there is much water which can flow through Ganga. So we have to wait and watch.
So let us start with Punjab. Sreeram, and take it away. There's a lot of churn that is happening. I think some of it is, or maybe most of it is self-inflicted. That is how I look at it, especially the ruling party. What are your thoughts? How do you think the elections are going to be turning out in Punjab?
Punjab, when you look at Punjab, you have to take it with a pinch of salt, Mr. Iyer. The first thing is, let me not even go into the survey and everything. I was there in Punjab in 2019. I was there in Bathinda, and I traveled a little bit, around Bathinda and some of the districts. The confidence levels of Punjabis are the lowest now. They do not see any hope because they elected Captain Amrinder Singh with a lot of hope, with a lot of faith. But Congress has not delivered. I wouldn't say Captain Amrinder Singh has not delivered. Congress has failed to deliver. And Congress has not allowed Captain to deliver because of the infighting which they've been having constantly. And the industrial situation in Punjab is extremely bad. Just a week ago, a factory which was running in Bathinda was closed down abruptly and 700 people lost their jobs without even informing. And this is because the owners of that particular factory, it was Adani-owned factory. They said, we can't do business anymore in Punjab. So Punjab is in a very, very precarious situation. As per the Sea Water survey, they are saying that AAP will come back in a big way. But we have to take it with a pinch of salt, predominantly because during the 2017 elections also, Punjab, it was expected by Sea Water that it is AAP which will come to power. But AAP did not come to power. They had to, they got around 20 odd seats. And number two, has Gandhi family really done disservice to Congress itself by pitching in Navjot Singh Sidhu, who seems to be playing to the front rows of the galleries, but nothing else. And he has been asking questions which probably the Akali Dal and the BJP must be asking, or the AAP must be asking. He has been constantly questioning Amrinder Singh. And Amrinder Singh is a nationalist. He might be belonging to the Congress party, but he's a former army veteran, or the service veteran. And we need to respect that person. And he has been treated extremely shabbily by the Congress. And even today, Mr. Amrinder Singh is a popular leader. There is anti-incumbency against Congress. The infighting between between Amrinder Singh and Navjot Singh Sidhu is affecting 72% of people in Jan Ki Baat survey are saying that the infighting between Sidhu and Amrinder Singh is going to cost Congress Punjab. Punjab being a border state, going into the hands of AAP could be extremely dangerous. Could be extremely dangerous. But let me also give you a caveat here that AAP does not have a local leader. Arvind Kejriwal cannot be the chief minister in multiple states. Indian constitution does not allow that. And their local leader, Bhagwan Mann, who had the history of being, consuming liquor in various places, including parliament, has got less than 5% popularity according to Jan Ki Baat survey. And they tried to convince a Dubai-based businessman, I don't want to name the businessman, the backpack talks have been going on for a long time, but that gentleman has refused. So there is leadership crisis both in AAP, there is leadership crisis in Congress, and I also would like to tell you that if situation demands, if pushed to a corner, this is my personal opinion based on the discussions I've had with a lot of people, is that this is neither told by Jan Ki Baat nor by Sea Water. Captain Amrinder Singh could be pushed to either float a party just before the elections or after the results of war over. If there is an Ang assembly, I would not rule out a chance of Badal and Amrinder Singh coming together and forming a government.
So if you look at Punjab, it's a four-way contest, isn't it? You have the Akali Dal, you have the BJP, you have Congress, and you have the Aam Aadmi Party. Now, Akali Dal and BJP, I'm telling them separately because last time they contested together is because the Akali split ways with the BJP. So, two questions I have. First is, see, Sidhu is a colorful character. He doesn't come across as a serious politician. That's how I see it, because I've seen more of Sidhu in TV channels making fun and jokes and things like that, coming up with phrases that sounds Karunanidhi-esque in the sense that it is lyrical, but it's nonsense. But that is just my opinion. I could be wrong. So how serious does Sidhu come across as a politician?
See, before he became the president of the party, there was some level of popularity. But today, there is not much of popularity for Sidhu. Sidhu, only somebody, who is an outsider to Punjab politics might say that Sidhu is probably popular. Sidhu has got 14% support in the Jan Ki Baat survey. 14% of them have said that they would like to see Sidhu as a chief ministerial candidate. In the Sea Water survey, 15.3% is what Sidhu is getting. So if you look at it, Sidhu's popularity is around 14 to 15%. But he is hurting Congress more because the tallest leader in the Congress is Captain Amrinder Singh. It is not Navjot Singh Sidhu. Captain Amrinder Singh is getting 19% popularity rating in the Jan Ki Baat survey, and CM's choice is basically 17.9% in Sea Water survey, which shows you that Captain Amrinder Singh is still a choice. And Badal as getting considerable amount of around 17 to 18% of people would like to see Badal as the chief ministerial candidate. Let us also remember one thing, the support which Mr. Badal has is not the support which Akali Dal has. Because Akali Dal leaders have been, been instrumental in the drug issue which has been facing Punjab for a very long time. So the trust level towards the Akali Dal is lesser. But again, Akali Dal, if my sources are right, is targeting some important seats. And even if they pick around 25 to 30 seats, which looks possible, and if Amrinder Camp can pull up sizable number of seats, that's the best case scenario. As far as BJP is concerned, to your audience, I would like to place it on record that BJP is a non-runner as far as Punjab is concerned. Let's face the situation. what is Congress in Uttar Pradesh is the situation for the BJP in Punjab. But at the same time, Captain Amrinder Singh there has got good relationships with Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, and he has been meeting Mr. Amit Shah also frequently. But considering the political situation, the farmer issue, is he going to come to BJP? It's a billion-dollar question. And I feel he may not, because he may not want to carry the farmer protest issues right now on his shoulders. So best case scenario is Amrinder Singh probably starting a party, but I feel there's only 20 to 30% chances are there in the event of an Ang Assembly. Why I am saying Ang Assembly is because the situation in Punjab is going to be something similar to situation in Tamil Nadu in 1980. In Tamil Nadu in 1980, DMK Congress combined swept the Lok Sabha elections. And then when it came to the question of assembly elections, they contested equal number of seats.
And how far apart were the two? How far apart were the two?
No, what happened in the election was DMK candidates plotted for Congress candidates defeat, Congress candidates plotted for DMK candidates defeat. And in the process, MGR sailed to power, coasted to power without Congress as an alliance partner. Now, what would happen is that I would expect that Sidhu camp will get around 50-55 seats. Amrinder Singh camp will get around 65 to 70 seats. And this is going to happen because it's a divided house. So as a result of which, if Amrinder Singh camp is able to pull up around 25-30 seats or even 20-25 seats, because his popularity is little higher, so then an alliance is possible is what I feel. BJP is not in the reckoning at this point in time. BJP may end up with 1 seat or even 0. But their vote share would increase from 5 to 7%.
So, Sreeram, from your experience, what is the minimum percentage vote share for a party to start registering wins in terms of MLAs elected column?
So 10 plus is required, minimum.
I see.
If it is, even Vijaykanth, 9 point change he had by the time, because Seeman is getting, I said Seeman will get around 7%. He got 6.6% in Tamil Nadu. But still, he was not able to open his account. He himself was not able to win. So 10 is a double-digit percentage without alliance, if you're talking about. I'm talking about without alliance on your own. The 10 is a threshold figure for you to start converting votes into seats. Bare minimum.
Wonderful. So as it stands now, C Voter predicts an AAP victory, but you think that the fat lady hasn't sung yet, in that there could be some other way things could move in Punjab. It's too critical a state. It's a border state, and it is affected by the drug problems. How much of the farmer stir is going to affect? Who's going to benefit from that?
Aam Aadmi Party is trying to get benefit. Aam Aadmi Party is trying to get the benefit out of the farmers' issue. It is a straightforward thing. I saw some, a question regarding Sonia Gandhi. Whoever is the viewer, he has put it across. He's nailed it perfectly. It is important to understand that Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi family do not want Amrinder Singh to emerge as a leader. If he is going to win Punjab, he could become a bigger figure, a larger figure than the family itself. And he has been demoralized. He has been sidelined. Not now. 2014 Lok Sabha election. Mind you, this man bet Arun Jaitley. And we expected him to become the leader of Congress. They did not, but they made Mallikarjun Kharge as the leader in Lok Sabha. And the way they have pushed Navjot Singh Sidhu, who in turn, you must have known that Navjot Singh Sidhu went and attended the Imran Khan's swearing-in ceremony and hugged Bajwa. Okay, so we all know what it is. Now, Sidhu is as bad as an AAP when it comes to the question of separatism politics. So it is Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi who do not want Amrinder Singh to emerge as a winner. And as a result of which, the concern which you, me, and millions of people have on Punjab being a border state, I don't think Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi even has 1% of the concern that you and me have towards the welfare of the nation and being a border state.
One thing that I can tell you that the BJP has made an absolute mess of, sorry to divert here, just one minute. the way they've gone about prosecuting the people who are indulging in the Delhi riots, they've really made a hash of it. I mean, the cases registered have been so weak that nobody has been actually, pinpointed and sent to jail. And this is something that, in my opinion, the BJP should have done very easily. I don't know what the reason is that they didn't do, because see, some of these things start affecting you somewhere else. Because if that had happened, in my opinion, Kejriwal should have been thrown out of the CM's chair, because there is compelling evidence of Tahir Hussain having called him many, many times just before the riots erupted. And all that stuff, nobody's talking about it. But if you're going through FIRs, they could have cleaned that thing up and sent the people, booked the people who were indeed complicit in this violence. And that has not happened. And there's also some demographic redistribution happening in Delhi. Very concerned about that. We'll talk about that later in a different panel. Sreeram, so right now, as things stand, according to C Voter, Aam Aadmi Party has its nose in the front, and we have to wait and see how that plays out. Thank you. Let's go on to Uttarakhand. In Uttarakhand, one problem is, again, the BJP, which is in power, has done some self-goals. For example, trying to take over the temples. And the last word hasn't been said on this. There was a change in chief minister. The new chief minister said that, no, we are giving control back, but that did not happen. So the priests are still up in arms. Where do you think things stand? And do you think the BJP will still be able to come through? Because Uttarakhand is one of those states where they switch between one party and the other, like Rajasthan and Tamil Nadu and a few other states like that. Go ahead, sir.
So here are a few points. I do agree that BJP in Uttarakhand had been having issues. In fact, they've changed chief ministers like a drop of the hat. Now, in spite of all this, the opinion polls show that BJP is winning Uttarakhand. Now, why? Why is it happening? It is happening because the person who has got the maximum popularity in Uttarakhand is Harish Rawat. He leads others by a margin. And where is Mr. Harish Rawat? Harish Rawat is the in charge of another poll-bound state called Punjab. Now, can there be a bigger self-goal than this, Mr. Iyer? You tell me, what is the strategy behind it? Who is advising Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi? I think after Pranab Mukherjee's demise, yeah, he moved to presidency itself, but still they were always having connections. And after the G23 was formed, now it is G22 because one of that leaders has gone and joined Bharatiya Janata Party in Uttar Pradesh. Now what is happening? There is nobody to advise Congress party. And Congress is losing ground to Aam Aadmi Party in Uttarakhand. They may not even win a seat. But this is a state where, and another important thing which I want to bring it to your attention. Rahul Gandhi's popularity in places like Uttarakhand or Punjab, and also in the next state which you're going to discuss in Goa, as the prime ministerial candidate is less than 5%. Congress is not declining, it is decaying. Day by day, it is no more in ICU, it is in deathbed. So a state which should have been pocketed by Congress, Uttarakhand, is now going towards BJP's way because of the way in which Congress has conducted itself in Uttarakhand and giving space to Aam Aadmi Party. And Aam Aadmi Party is cleverly playing, okay, it doesn't want to get into Uttar Pradesh, such a big state. So they're targeting smaller states where they can get in, and they should also pay a price. To my opinion, AAP was a creation of Congress.
B team.
Yeah. Yes, B team. Now what is happening? It is the same thing like America was the one who created Taliban and Taliban gave it to America. Because AAP was a creation of Congress. That is what I believe in. And AAP is now growing at the expense of Congress. And this is what we are seeing in Uttarakhand also. Result, because again, Uttarakhand is a place where, in fact, I keep telling this. Voter might be dissatisfied, in northern part of India, voter might not be happy with the local chief minister or the local MLA. They would have decided to vote against BJP. But inside the polling booth, when they see a Kamal, it is more than a symbol. It is part of the life itself. It is the most powerful symbol today in India, like how the two leaves was, Rettai was. Even today it is, when I do an opinion poll or exit poll in Tamil Nadu, when I speak to a 96-year-old lady and she can't even utter a word, but yaru go to poda porina, she will show this. I've got the picture also with me. She can't even utter a word. So likewise, Kamal, lotus is becoming a very powerful symbol. So even after changing chief minister, even after temple issues being there, still the Congress is unable to milk to its advantage in Uttarakhand.
So I have the sea voter numbers here that I'm going to read out for the viewers. Uttarakhand has 70 votes. BJP is expected to get between 44 to 48. Congress is expected to get between 19 to 23. Aam Aadmi Party between 0 to 4. And others between 0 to 2. And just to cover up on Punjab, out of 117 seats, according to sea voter, Aam Aadmi Party is expected to get 51 to 57. Congress between 38 and 46, and Akali Dal between 16 and 24. Now, the rise of AAP is a bit of a concern because these are urban naxals and really no ideology. In fact, people who have actually watched them campaign say that they change their tune based on the demographic area that they are campaigning in. How true is this, Sreeram?
And to 500, I said 100, then 200, now I'm saying 500. See, 500% true. I'll give you an example. Whether you like it or not, every party must have an ideology. The ideology may be good or bad, or principle. Now you take the case of BJP. BJP is perceived as a nationalist party, is perceived as an Hindutva party. That is how it has been perceived as. Congress has been perceived as a minority appeasement party. I hope you agree with what I'm saying.
Yes.
Internally, Congress is also perceived as a party where power is a methodology through which they make money. Corruption they stand for. So these are the two things. Now, what does AAP stand for? I will tell you in Delhi what I have seen. You will find AAP candidate in a constituency walking into a street which has people from Rajasthan, and in Rajasthan people greet each other Ram Ram, and they will say Ram Ram. They will chant Hanuman Chalisa. Even Arvind Kejriwal will chant Hanuman Chalisa, will project himself as the biggest Hindu. And in the adjacent street, you will find people from Punjab who favor Khalistan will be there, and they would raise very minimal slogans in favor of Khalistan. And on the other side, they will go, and if they find a minority-dominated area, like a Muslim-dominated area, their tune will be different. So they do not have any constant stance. They think they are disruptors. They are not disruptors. They are disrupting the nationalistic fabric of this nation. They stand with urban naxals. They stand with Maoist element. They allowed Maoist. In fact, I was speaking to a person from Punjab who settled in Mumbai, and he's in a very senior position in a corporate organization. I don't want to name the organization. He was blasting me last Tuesday. I asked him only one question. Who asked you to let Darshan Pal, who's a known Maoist, links with Maoists, talks about violence openly, to lead the campaign on farmer protest? He was helpless. He said, probably Arvind Kejriwal did it. Then I asked him, what is the connection between Darshan Pal and Arvind Kejriwal? Darshan Pal is no less than a Varavara Rao. Darshan Pal is no less than Stan Swami. And how can you let such a guy to lead the protest? And he was the one who said, in fact, when Narendra Singh Tomar said, I'm willing to discuss clause by clause by clause, when other farmer leaders accepted, Darshan Pal said, no, my way or highway, remove the law, and then we will come and talk. He hijacked, and AAP let Darshan Pal hijack the farmer protest. AAP promotes left leaders who are unemployed. 8-time MP from Bengal who lost badly in 2014. 8-time MP supported by AAP. A communist leader who has lost very badly in Uttar Pradesh, supported by AAP. A person who was in his affidavit claimed he has got 600 and odd crores. I can even give you the exact numbers. What is the number? And AAP supported such a guy who stood against Maneka Gandhi at Pilbit. Now, these are the kind of people they have. And you want to trust AAP? God save this nation. I'm sorry if I'm aggressive, but...
No. You are spot on. Sreeram, you are spot on. And viewers know that they get something outside of what everybody is thinking. We always have that capacity.
I have one small thing to add, which I forgot.
Please, go ahead.
Punjab, AAP is running short of funds. Because in 2017, Punjab, AAP got funds from Canada, from UK, Khalistan supporters. Now the funds had already been diverted for farmer protest. So the treasury is empty now. So that is a bigger worry for Arvind Kejriwal. That is why he has been speaking with those Dubai-based businessmen, pleading him for funds and in return, a chief ministerial candidate, and project to the world that I'm bringing a dynamic entrepreneur who will bring enterprising attitude into Punjab. So they'll go to any extent. I'm sorry to interrupt you here.
No problem. And we're going to talk about one very, very interesting phenomenon at the end of this talk, because this is something that I don't think people have looked at. But Sreeram, you have the insights. I haven't told you what the question is. Maybe a little bit out of syllabus, but I know you can attempt it and pass in this. So next, we are taking a look at Manipur. Now, Manipur is one of those states which I think went BJP's way the last time elections were held. And this time, according to Sea Voter, the results tend to favor BJP. In fact, I'm going to give you the numbers right now because Sreeram can then talk to that. In Manipur, the total seats is 60. BJP is expected to win between 32 to 36, Congress between 18 to 22, NPL between 2 to 6, and others between 0 to 4. Now, Manipur is now in the national news for perhaps the wrong reasons. You can touch upon what was happening there, and then we can, go and explain why the BJP is finding such a good resurgence and resonance in that state.
It was a very, very blatant attempt by Congress, the last throw of the dice, to bring in a conflict between Manipur and Assam. After knowing that Assam is gone, and they had a bedfellow who was bad. I'm talking about, whom I'm talking about in Assam, whom they went with. Okay, they again went with an extremist element, and now they tried to create a ruckus between the Assam and the Manipur, but it got exposed. Because let's put it across very straight, I expect BJP to do well in Manipur for several reasons. For the first time in the history of India, Northeast is seeing development post-2014. The two not post-2014 because many of the states were ruled by Congress, left, and the local guys. But after 2016, Assam came into the hands of BJP. After that, Manipur came. Then you saw the left citadel, the left bastion, Tripura, going down, and nobody expected BJP to get it. They've got it. Now, they're seeing railways for the first time. They're seeing airports for the first time. They are seeing bus service. They are seeing electricity for the first time. Mr. Iyer, I have friends in Nagaland. I have friends in Manipur who tell me that they've never ever thought of doing a valuation for their land. They have lands, but there were no takers. Today, the land value is appreciating. People are looking up to. Northeastern states have a dedicated minister. And the minister of Northeastern state is also having additional portfolio of tourism and culture. And he happens to be from the city where I hail from. And I know him pretty well personally. It's Mr. Kishan Reddy. So actually what is happening, they're trying to bring in tourism. Post-COVID, definitely it will happen. For the first time, apples are growing in Northeast and they're being, exported to foreign countries. Can you imagine that? So to such an extent, the people of Northeast also have a very tall leader. Himanta Biswa Sharma is not just the leader of Assam, he is the leader of NEDA, Northeast Democratic Alliance. He is an extremely tall leader. He knows every state like the back of his hand. Again, Congress loss, BJP's gain. And with him there, I would only expect numbers to get better as far as Manipur is concerned. But Congress will try to do all sorts of damage by bringing in disturbance between Manipur and other states. But Manipur people are very smart. It is a border state. So we need to be extremely careful. And I hope BJP does come to power, and it will come to power as far as Manipur is concerned. Don't be surprised if it is going to be a big victory by the BJP at Manipur.
Yes, and credit where credit is due. Not many people, write about the success that BJP has attained in the northeastern region. In fact, P Gurus has been very consistent, showing all the developmental projects. Where, if you remember, all the fireside chats we have done with Sridhar Chityala and others, that we have really focused on what kind of work that the Modi government has done to kind of pull them up and say, look, you are the key element, because Modi's vision is to look east and act east. He wants to be able to supply a lot of goods at a very, very reasonable price, not just to Myanmar, but even the further countries down that line. It's just an incredible thing that they've done. In fact, I don't know how many of you know, but there is a train that goes from Kolkata to, I think, Agartala through Bangladesh with limited stops. I mean, like 1 or 2 stops only. Nobody gets off, nobody gets on. It is primarily done to make sure that the facilities are, refreshed, like water has to be refilled, for example, or something like that. Amazing things that are happening. So don't write off Modi government because of some small problem here, some problem there. Overall, I think you've also underlined the achievements of one minister, extremely, extremely efficient, and it's very, very good that such good things are happening in Manipur. So let's take a look at Goa, because we still have the big enchilada waiting to be discussed. Goa, please.
So Goa, as you see the numbers for yourself, the BJP is coming, but AAP is also growing. The surprising thing has been that the Goa is seeing a huge decline of Rahul Gandhi's popularity. In fact, all the chief ministers put together, chief minister candidates or opposition guys of Congress put together, is not equal to even AAP's popularity as far as chief ministerial candidate is concerned. So that is how the Congress is so badly performing. Yes, Goa has seen the loss of Manohar Parrikar. I think it was not only a Goa's loss, it was a nation's loss, because he's a very tall leader. He's somebody who's been accepted. But the incumbent chief minister is also performing well. He is doing his level best. AAP is trying to provoke the Christian minority segment, and it is succeeding up to an extent, but not succeeding to a large extent. Now, here again, I will have to remember Mr. Arun Jaitley's speech after Arvind Kejriwal's victory in 2015, when he said, we never expected Congress to get decimated so badly that these guys will win 67 seats. Congress performed so badly that we could retain our seat, our votes, but chunk of voters moved from Congress to AAP. So if Congress is going to perform badly as being told by the sea voter, it is going to be extremely bad, and we are going to see AAP probably winning more seats, because Uttarakhand, they may not pick up any seat. To my knowledge, they may not pick up any seat. Punjab, they will not form government. But AAP, they may even come up with around 5-6 numbers, which is a fairly good numbers. And that is where BJP has to be proactive. That is where I appreciate the BJP's Gujarat unit. You may be aware, the entire AAP Gujarat unit has now moved to BJP. Workers to leaders, everybody has moved to BJP. Because AAP as a political party with its narrative is dangerous. And in Goa, again, it's a very sensitive state. It's an important state, a tiny state, a state which has got naval bases and all. So it's important that the AAP doesn't grow in Goa. To my knowledge, I would feel that there would be an Ang assembly in Goa, but independents would support the BJP, and BJP should be able to form a government. That is what I feel.
So the sea water predictions are that for the 40 seats of Goa, BJP will get between 22 to 26, AAP will get between 4 to 8, Congress between 3 to 7, and independent or others between 3 to 7. So this is a point of inflection in terms of what is happening in some of these smaller states. I think this is a trend that needs to be looked at carefully. I wouldn't have a problem with Mr. Kejriwal if he had a set, ideology and he performed to that. But he's not doing that. He's playing the role of a chameleon. So he's trying to be all things to all people, which means nothing to no one. So it's only him benefiting. So this is something that is of concern. So we have to wait and see how that plays out. Now let's take a look at Uttar Pradesh, the big enchilada. Sreeram, in Uttar Pradesh, let us talk first about what are the achievements of the Yogi Adityanath government. We know what the Samajwadi Party did. The Yadavs and the Muslims were a law unto themselves. Nobody could touch them, even if they were brazenly breaking the law before Adityanath came along. And after that, so I'm asking you to kind of give a 2-minute summary of how Adityanath has been performing, because you can see some giant strides that he has taken, giant strides. And this does not get reflected in the national narrative. I want you to touch upon this because what we are saying is facts, guys. Please listen to Sreeram. Take it away.
You can see Yogi Adityanath, if you travel to Uttar Pradesh, the first thing is the kind of roads and infrastructure which you see in Uttar Pradesh is amazing. But roads are there. Are they safe? Yes. I have traveled to Uttar Pradesh during the time of Mayawati. I have traveled to Uttar Pradesh during Akhilesh Singh. I have also traveled during the time Yogi Adityanath has been the chief minister. Remarkable change. Now, if you ask me, is there no law and order issue? No, they are there, but they are being addressed. And most importantly, any illegal construction, because there is a difference between Yogi Adityanath's approach and many other BJP governments. This is something which doesn't come to the notice of mainstream media. Now, even an illegally constructed masjid or even a temple. Now, before they actually demolish it, they go through the legal route. The explanation is given to the people of that community, and then it is taken. The Rowdy Raj has come down, and that is a big achievement by Yogi Adityanath. At the top, there is corruption is much lesser. In fact, no corruption. But at the bottom end of the pyramid, corruption is still there. So that is another thing. Vaccine hesitancy was expected to be the highest in Uttar Pradesh, and that too with Akhilesh Singh openly saying, will you take Modi vaccine? But he himself took it. Now, mark my words, he said, do you take Modi vaccine? But today, UP leads the race as far as vaccination is concerned. And more importantly, the number of cases you see in Uttar Pradesh and the number of cases you see in Kerala stands testimony to the fact how COVID has been controlled by Yogi Adityanath. And finally, business is happening big time. Now you have Samsung's coming over to Uttar Pradesh, and Pepsi is planning to put up something big. And Kitex, who decided to dismantle their operations in Kerala, has started having discussions with Mr. Yogi Adityanath and is looking for a big development as far as textile park is concerned in Uttar Pradesh. So massive development. And more importantly, they may, if Yogi continues to be in power, they will be in the top 3 as far as the GSDP is concerned in the country. From a bottom 20 to moving into the top 3 would be the greatest achievement. Will go past Tamil Nadu and will be next to Maharashtra and Gujarat, because in India you call GDP as GSDP, gross state domestic product. So it will be number 3. And that can happen only if Mr. Yogi Adityanath comes back to power, and that will also be an indicator for 2024 elections.
And viewers, if you remember, and I'm going to come back to the polls, but I just want to put the data points. We had a hangout with Shantanu Gupta, the writer of the book The Monk Who Became CM. And he touched upon one important aspect of the governance of the government of Yogi Adityanath. He said that there is a press conference every day. The data is disseminated. They know where things are going wrong, including the oxygen tanks that there. You remember the second wave, there was an oxygen tank crisis. They mastered it. They said they knew exactly where things were. They knew where the supply was. They knew where the demand was. They were telling it. So since it was tracked on a 24/7 basis, it was amazingly transparent. So nobody could really say that these guys are cooking up numbers or anything like that. And the results are beginning to show. So from an administrative point of view, Adityanath has done a fantastic job. Now, let's take a quick look at the Sea Voter survey. I think our voters, our viewers have waited long. So I'm just going to share the numbers. Then you can talk about the rise and fall of some of the parties. 403 seats for Uttar Pradesh. BJP is expected to win between 259 to 267. The Samajwadi Party between 109 to 117. The Bahujan Samaj Party between 12 to 16. Congress between 3 to 7. And others 6 to 10. So this assumes how many wave fight, and then you can start telling us about how you.
It's going to be a four-way fight. It's going to be BJP at one end, Samajwadi Party number 2, BSP number 3, Congress number 4. There will be fringe parties like AIMMM of OIC going there, but they're not going to focus more because Muslims. I'll come to numbers of the communities from Janki Baat in at a length in the next few minutes' time. But sure. Most important thing is that it is a four-cornered contest. It is a four-cornered contest where Congress may get even 2 seats or 3 seats. And that will be a slap on the face of Congress. May end up with 2 to 3 seats also. Although nobody would say that. I'm saying, because why I am saying it? The Congress has consistently lost over a period of time their biggest vote banks. And the last hope which the Congress has, Mr. Iyer, the last hope for the Congress in Uttar Pradesh is Muslims. Now, that is the reason why Akhilesh had an alliance with Congress in 2017. Because he felt that the Congress vote may get split. Now, 80% of Congress votes are going to Akhilesh, which means they are not going to Congress. They are not going to Bahujan Samaj Party. Only 3% of Muslims, which are women who are, favor of triple talaq and all those stuff, are going for BJP. So, Congress is ruled out. Bahujan Samaj Party again needs to get Jatav votes, non-Jatav, Dalit votes, and on top of it, they have to get Brahmin votes, and then they have to also get Muslim votes. Muslims are not moving towards her. It is again in single digit because 80% has already gone to Akhilesh. Now, what is remaining is a very small portion. 20 is remaining, of which 3% goes to Congress, 7-8% goes to BSP. So, as a result of which. So, what is happening is, it's an extremely caste polarized election. It is more caste polarized than 2019. It is more caste polarized than 2017. And Congress has been squeezed out. And that is the big story. And then I will come to the numbers as far as your caste consolidation is concerned.
Yes, indeed. And as Sreeram takes a break to get a sip of water, I just want to tell you to please do join and subscribe to our channel if you have not already done so. It helps us in getting the message across. And as always, when the program begins, do like our program. Like, for example, today, the ratio of viewers to the likes is 4:1. I'd like to see that more as 2:1. And if you do that, that will help us because these engines, the social media engines, will then get this message across more. We are not taking sides here. We are just saying what we are seeing. And Sreeram, back to you. So take it away on the numbers perspective.
So what is happening now is Yadavs, 90% of Yadavs are going with Samajwadi Party. Now, this is a big number. So what is it working as? 80% of Muslim votes are going to Akhilesh. 90% of Yadav vote is going to Akhilesh. and 60% of Jat votes is going to Akhilesh, provided there is an alliance between RLD and Samajwadi Party. The farmers' protest is only visible in the western UP, and in the remaining part, it is not even known and it is not affecting. Now, which way the Jats are going to vote? Because you need to understand the tallest man, the icon, he is looked at as a god in Uttar Pradesh. I can tell you, he is looked at as a god. I have spoken to the most important people with whom you need to speak in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar are the boatmen. The boatmen in Ganga River. They will give you the sense of what is happening. And they say people here rever Har Har Mahadev, Har Har Modi. That is UP. So when Modi comes and starts his campaign, how much of Jat vote is going to take it? Today, MSPs have been announced, minimum support price. Sorry. And they are in favor of farmers. We have seen 50 to 100% increase in the MSP rates compared to last year. And sugarcane farmers are getting much better deal than what they were getting before. So if the Jat votes are going to come down to Samajwadi Party and if they move towards Bharatiya Janata Party, which can happen, now I can tell you, Yogi will cross 312. Jan Ki Baat is not saying, I'm saying as a personal message. That vote is going to stay as what it is now. It will be more or less the C voter number. And more important, Jatavs, because see, understand, BSP was not a Dalit party. We all misunderstand. BSP is a Jatav party. Jatav is a subsect of Dalits. 25% of Jatavs themselves are voting for BJP. Only 30% of them are voting with Mayawati. No, that is the reason. And let me also do one more thing. I think, consolidated view we need to get. C voter itself says the vote share of BJP has increased from 39% to 42% in 2022 compared to 2017. And you need to also understand that NDA had a 51.5% vote share in 2019 Lok Sabha election. Another big news I'll tell you, there is a Congress guy who does analysis and he comes out with a number to me and he says 53 to 55%. 53 to 55% support vote share for BJP, but 223 votes. I don't understand what it is. So if I go by the vote share, then certainly BJP will get better numbers than what we saw from C voter. And more importantly, the candidates have to be selected in a proper manner, in a prudent manner. Because candidates are going to play, 42% of people are going to vote based. See, because unlike parliamentary elections, the local elections, the Lok Sabha, the assembly elections, the MLA has a lot of weight to carry. Because as he delivered, how much of an anti-incumbency that local MLA is carrying. And also, at this point in time, I need to place it on record. Maybe some of the BJP guys may not like it, but I would like to place it on record because a fact is a fact. Because we said in Punjab, BJP is not even getting zero or not even getting one seat. Now, some of the MLAs are unhappy with Yogi Adityanath. Why? Because he is trying to root out corruption. As a result of which, there could be some internal issues. In spite of all these issues, Yogi is coming back to power. But what majority? Any number above 300, Mr. Iyer, I can tell you the opposition will start crumbling. I'm talking about for 2024. And if Rahul Gandhi Congress is going to perform as badly as what we mentioned in Goa, then Maharashtra government will be in danger. Maharashtra government will be in danger. Added to that, because I'm sorry, I'm extending a little bit beyond what you were talking about. The biggest of all the election, equal to UP election, is the BMC election. Because that is where the paisa is there. Paisa kidhar hai? Mumbai. BMC election pe paisa hai. Each corporator, makes a lot of money there. It's one of the richest corporations in Asia itself. Now, in that, if Congress gets decimated, then we are looking at a change of equation in Maharashtra. Maharashtra itself could see a change in equation, and that could spell disaster for Congress. Now, Let me tell you also why I'm saying all these things. Popularity of Yogi. You all know in Mood of the Nation that consistently he has been the most popular chief minister in the country. When people are asked, what is your, how do you rate Mr. Yogi Adityanath's government? Very good 23, good 22, which means 45 are saying either good or very good. Average 32, poor is 13%. Now tell me, if a chief minister has to be dislodged with 10 or 12% or 13% dissatisfaction rating, would he be in a position to be displaced? Absolutely no. And non-Jata Dalits are solidly behind BJP. Brahmin votes, 70% of Brahmins have said they're voting for BJP. OBCs are going ahead with BJP. Yogi leads the popularity chart at 48 basis points with Akhilesh at 40 basis points. Akhilesh, in the internal communication, whatever I have, is confident of pulling through 250 seats. His confidence stems from the fact that he will get 90% of Muslim, 90% of Yadav, and 75% of Jat. And he's not concentrating on anything else. And last and finally, I would like to put a thing here that Jan Ki Baat also believes that there could be local understanding between the Congress candidates and the BSP candidates and the SP candidate, where in few seats, whoever is winning, whoever perceived to be in the front, may carry all the anti-BJP votes, even though there is no alliance. There is also
cross-voting. Cross-voting.
And what Mamta did to Congress in Bengal is what Akhilesh is going to do for Congress in Uttar Pradesh. And sadly, they've got Priyanka Gandhi. And they're saying Priyanka Gandhi might even become the chief ministerial candidate. It is too late. Kangattapin Surya Namaskaram. In your channel, let me place it on record. 2009, Congress, after 1989 debacle, the Congress was going south and south and south in Uttar Pradesh, touching the abysmal of depression. 2009, the UP electorate gave them an ICU or ventilator support, and they sent 22 MPs from Congress. 2012, what was a watershed moment. If Congress had declared Rahul Gandhi as the chief ministerial candidate, if Rahul Gandhi had been declared as the chief ministerial candidate, Congress would have got more than 100 seats in 2012 because BJP was not strong at that point in time. Mayawati was carrying a huge anti-incumbency. And Mulayam Singh Yadav, his brother, Akhilesh Yadav, there were a lot of dissidency. But they lost there. And with that, the hopes are gone. If, as one of your viewers saying, oh, Yogi will get 50%, if he gets 50% plus, it will be bigger victory than what we saw in 2017. And it could be equal to 2014 parliamentary election. Because if you compare parliamentary election, 70 seats multiplied by 5 would be 350 seats. And that is what we may witness with the caveat. But if Jats are going to go with Akhilesh, then the numbers which you are talking about holds good.
So overall, 5 states, 4 BJP is well placed. In 1, we don't know. It could be something around Captain Amrinder Singh. That seems to be the takeaway from this. Sreeram, there is a very important phenomenon that is happening that is sort of underneath, and it's not coming up yet. But I think you know the answer to this question. See, Bangladesh is experiencing a 10% year-over-year growth, 10% GDP growth right now. Very, very high. One of the fastest growing countries in this region. And the reason for that is they seem to have figured out how to manufacture clothing, textiles, everything around that ecosystem. So what we were finding out was that last year when COVID happened, many Bangladeshis who used to work in Tirupur, Erode, Salem, or Coimbatore, that Congo belt where a lot of spinning, that kind of stuff used to happen, they have gone back and they have not come back. This is the story that I heard. I don't know how true that is, but certainly if the growth and the machinery and the companies are beginning to shift there, that means the Bangladesh population that used to be another solid vote bank may dissipate. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but it may happen over a few years. What is your experience now? Because every year, there will be a group of companies that will go and try to bring this labor workforce. This year, how is it looking? And is my prediction looking like it might come true in 10 years?
See, 10 years back, I cannot name the company because there is a non-disclosure agreement I have. One of the leading textile companies in India, where I was a consultant, they told me that Bangladesh is picking up very fast. This was if I remember it right, it is around 2011. 2011 is when I went and did the programs for that company. And so from there, it has been going further and further and further. Even Pakistan tried, but Bangladesh seems to have figured out correctly. So what you're saying is right, Mr. Iyer, and that too with the Tirupur region belonging to Kongu being given stepmotherly treatment by Stalin's government, you could see a lot of things happening. And what you're saying could come true. Predominantly, another thing which you need to also look at is Kitex. Ideally, when I think you must be aware of Kitex. Kitex was a Kerala-based company. Kerala-based company. Ideal destination should have been Tirupur because everything is ready. It's a plug-and-play model.
Right.
But they don't. They didn't.
They went to Telangana, right?
They went to Telangana. They decided to invest in Telangana one part, another part they were going to invest in Uttar Pradesh. So what is happening? If Tamil Nadu is going to give a stepmotherly treatment to Kongu region, you will see Bangladesh emerging faster, and that migrants coming into the India would be much reduced. You are absolutely right.
Because see, what happens is there's also another slight, move away from Maharashtra also into UP, because UP's growth, in my opinion, is going to come to a certain extent at the expense of Maharashtra, because this government, the Maharashtra Angadi, whatever, is really, really queering the pitch, because there is far more, churn at the ground level because of this government, because they want to somehow keep some issue hot all the time, and compared to say what the BJP government was before this, and I think that also is going to have an impact. So I think what we have to see again is this is perhaps one of those things where we are looking at some long-term trends that might impact India. But if what you are saying is true, I think Yogi might form the template for a successful CM. If any CM wants to succeed, because nobody wants to stop at the state level, everybody wants to become prime minister. He may be the one setting the template. I think that's good for India. That's what I think. And we have already at 1 hour and 7 minutes. Do you have time to take some questions?
Yeah. I think I saw a question of the OBC votes, non-Yadav OBC votes. Non-Yadav OBC votes are predominantly going with BJP. It's going predominantly with BJP. So there is absolutely no issues as far as that is concerned. Oh, non-Yadav OBCs will vote. They are voting for BJP. In fact, non-Jatav itself is moving towards BJP.
See, there is a dividend that you get for good governance, especially in those states who are playing catch-up. I think that's what this is telling us. Am I right?
Yeah. 100% is. 100% is.
So Giridhar Mamidi wants to know, we hear all the good views on Yogi, but what are the few negative views on Yogi on the ground?
I've already told one negative view on the ground is because, certain perception is certain MLAs are not cooperating with Mr. Yogi because Mr. Yogi has a hands-on approach. See, there is something called the diplomatic. He is not, you get a binary from Mr. Yogi, 0 or 1. There is no midway. So as a result of which, sometimes it can be too harsh also. And number two, also in the second wave beginning, Mr. Yogi's popularity was at the lowest because initial days, COVID was not handled properly in Uttar Pradesh. Deaths were happening. And he also got infected with COVID. And once he came back from COVID, he started things in his own manner. And the biggest negative use is a lot of times he micromanages. He does micromanagement. These are the things mainly coming out. And with Yogi, you were not going to get minority votes. Even in 2017, you got some minority votes in favor of BJP because Yogi was not declared as the candidate. With Yogi as the CM candidate, And as the CM, you're not going to get minority votes because he is going hard, very hard on illegal masjid constructions and all those stuff. And there is another area which was an issue a few years back. Because of the cattle thing, people traveling on the road in the nights always had an issue because cattle comes into the highways. That has been another major issue which is happening, but I think it is slowly getting controlled. As far as these are the negative views, as far as micromanager, that's where the challenge is.
I'll gladly take that. Next question from Srihari Narayan. Will caste polarization be a game changer in UP elections? If so, who will hold the cards?
I already told that. 80% of Muslims are going in favor of the Samajwadi Party. I can give you the numbers from Jan Ki Baat. 80 in favor of Samajwadi Party, 3% of Muslims in favor of BJP, 10% in favor of BSP, and 7% in favor of Congress. And that number also, I think that consolidation, that 7 also will come down because they favor Congress, but they may vote for Samajwadi Party.
Sachin Sharma wants to know how much of freebies will make an impact. Kejriwal only wins because of freebies.
See, I am going to be very, very honest with you at this point in time. This country has not seen a more socialist prime minister than Shri Narendra Modi. Do you know how much of food grains are being given free of cost on a monthly basis? The numbers are something astounding. Just for the state of Tamil Nadu, only rice and wheat, yesterday we did a calculation, 15,000 crores worth of rice and wheat has been given, and that too in the COVID pandemic. When you say freebie, Modi's model of freebie is not giving cash, because if I give cash to a person, they will go to Tasmak and have a drink. But instead, if I give it rice, in fact, Bihar was won because of the social welfare measure of Sri Narendra Modi. I go on record again and again and again, and let me place it on record. Some of the people may not like me. What Mr. Modi has done as a prime minister to the rural and the poor people of India, no other prime minister in this country has ever done. All this suit boot sarkar is a lie, and if that was the case, they would not have won so much. So freebie, you are not going to get TV, you are not going to get fan, you are not going to get all those things, but you're going to get what is really badly needed for the people.
Next question from Arka Chatraj. Sir, how is the situation in Muzaffarnagar and Bagpat for BJP?
So at this point of time, it is not in favor of BJP. I'm putting it across straight away, honest. That is the heartland of Jat, and Jat is moving towards the Samajwadi Party. But I'm also having a caveat here. The popularity which Mr. Charan Singh had as a Jat leader was much higher and bigger compared to Ajit Singh. And the popularity which Ajit Singh had is much, 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 much bigger than his son Jayant. So how much a novice like Ajit Singh's son would be in a position to ride is a very important thing to note. We have seen Chirag Paswan feel badly in Bihar, and because I would like to compare Ajit Singh with Ramvilas Paswan. Both of them are very similar. You know, they had limited access, but still they're great leaders. They're manipulators. They could go with the wind. They had room open for across parties. So how much of Jayant is his name, if I'm right, Jayant Chaudhary, I do not know how much of an impact he's going to make. So that's why that part, I can tell you, the demigod Modi, when he hits Muzaffarnagar and Bagpat, things could change. But now it is in favor of SP.
Thank you so much. Next question is from Siva Paturi. What did Dinesh Sharma bring to the UP government?
See, I don't want to get into this. As I've already told you, very clearly that it is Mr. Modi who has been micromanaging the government. It is he who has been taking all the calls. It's he who is taking all the shots. So it's number one, Mr. Yogi. Yeah, he has a team, but it's more of we are not getting the. I saw one question here. Will Shia Muslims vote for BJP? As of now, we are getting only, our tracker is showing only 3% of Muslims are voting for BJP. The number could increase, and that's because, as I told you, Yogi Adityanath, it's 0 and 1. It's binary.
Wonderful. Next question from Shantonil Bal. Can AAP majority government in Punjab actually do any good for Punjab agriculture and industry side? All he seems to be doing is populist budgets and welfare state policy approach.
See, even today, I am pretty confident that AAP will not form the government. Without a credible chief ministerial face, you cannot win the elections in Punjab. And number two, Arvind Kejriwal's biggest Achilles heel, in the long run also it is going to be the same. He does not want any other leader to emerge other than himself. And as I clearly mentioned, he cannot be the chief minister of two states. Why Haryana unit did not even take off? Because he never let anybody else come in. So in Punjab also same thing will happen. And the Bhagwan Man is very, very unpopular. Not even 4 to 5% of people are supporting him, because he has a reputation of being, being in conditions which cannot be told in public. Okay, so such has been the thing. So AAP, that is why I'm skeptical about AAP's victory in Punjab, and they will not bring anything to it.
Yeah, before we go to the next question, I just wanted to touch upon this. To really know the kind of politician Charan Singh was, you should listen to Dr. Swami remembering Charan Singh in a hangout in P Guru's. Very, very rarely come across data that he has said. For example, the first time he won from Uttar Pradesh for Rajya Sabha, and he did it on the basis of second preference votes of Charan Singh's party. These two were bitter. Jansangh was bitterly opposed to Charan Singh's party when they were canvassing. In fact, Dr. Swami said that he had very harsh words to say about how the Charan Singh's party worked. Yet, when the votes were tallied, he didn't win the first round, but he won on the second preference votes. And at that time, Charan Singh came and talked to him. And the whole conversation is captured there. Don't miss it, because you really had good leaders. Really, really good leaders. I'm not saying we don't have good leaders now, but the numbers have come down. So next question, please.
Yeah, at the moment it is not in a big time, because it is not in a big time. I'll have to give you with the data, because you asked a very, very important question. Ram Mandir is not going in a big way as far as BJP is concerned at this point in time. At this point in time. So if we have to put it across a number for you, how important is Ram Mandir for you in Uttar Pradesh? We asked this question. Very important, 33%, average 22%, less 32%, very less 13%. So that is the numbers we have got. But again, it's just picking up. So it will become big as we go nearer the elections, because we have the data, so I could share the data with you.
Great. Next question, please.
Can it be the last question for us?
I think this looks like this is the last question. So,
Sreeram, tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, another wonderful session. Thank you very much. And we'll be back again with Sreeram, I think, in 2 weeks' time. And we're going to have a very interesting topic to talk about then also. Thanks once again, Sreeram, and namaskar.
Thank you very much. Wishing Vinayaka Chaturthi wishes to all the people across the globe. Om Gam Mahaganadivadiya Namaga. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and I wish you all a happy Vinayak Chaturthi.